It's the Unofficial Pre Fight Show. This weekend, UFC 275, Glover Teixeira versus Yuri Prochazka. Let's go. In the main event this weekend, we have the light heavyweight title on the line when Glover Teixeira looks to defend his belt for the first time against challenger Yuri Prochazka. Combined, these guys have 55 finishes within their professional MMA careers and are two of the more exciting light heavyweights in the organization. Yuri Prochazka enters this fight as a -200 favorite. I disagree with that line. To me, this is a much closer fight and can go either way. Now, we all know Yuri Prochazka has that real unconventional style. He keeps his hands way down. He throws shots from really weird angles. Kind of has that traditional karate bounce in and out style. But it works for him, and that just shows with his professional record, which is 28-3. He's got a ton of power, he's really explosive, and he's got 25 KOs or technical knockouts within his career. Now, one thing I've noticed with Yuri is because he keeps his hands down, because he kind of has that weird movement, he does get hit a lot. Luckily for him, he's got a decent chin, which allows him to absorb those power shots and continue to press forward and overwhelm fighters like he often does, and breaks his opponents down. Now, looking at Glover Teixeira, I mean, the guy's an MMA legend, future Hall of Famer. He's been a professional MMA fighter since 2002. Really well-rounded fighter, great striking, great grappling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, underrated submission and grappling skills. And that's proven by the fact that he has 11 submission wins within his professional career. And, the path to victory for Glover Teixeira in this fight, if he wants to stay UFC champ, is going to be to stick to the fundamentals with his striking. He's got great boxing, very clean, crisp, technical boxer. He's also going to have to consistently threat with that takedown. If he can get Yuri to the ground, he's got to control him there. He's got a great top game and wear away at Yuri as the rounds and the fight goes on. Yuri Prochazka, on the other hand, he's going to have to stick with what got him to the dance, and that is stay unpredictable, be aggressive, move forward, and try and overwhelm the older Glover Teixeira. One red flag I have when I'm just looking at the tail of the tape is the obvious thing that Glover Teixeira is 42 years old. The guy's been a professional fighter for about 20 years, and I've heard rumors that he's thinking about retiring next year, which makes me wonder, I mean, does this guy already have one leg out, or one foot out the door rather? Does he still have the will, the heart, and the desire to fight at the highest level of the sport? Time will tell on Saturday, but Prochazka is 28, 29 years old. He's entering his prime, and I feel like he might just want it more at this stage. Glover Teixeira has done it all in the sport. There's really nothing else to prove, and that's kind of my one big question as to whether or not Glover's going to bring the same intensity and will and heart. But like I said, this one could go either way for me. And it's really going to come down to who can implement their strategy best. The big question for me is, can Yuri consistently stuff the takedown of Glover Teixeira? If the answer to that is yes, then I see him having success on Saturday. If the answer is no, and Glover Teixeira can consistently take him down and keep him on the ground, control him, Glover could definitely be on his way to defending his title for the first time. Close fight. I am going to pick Yuri. Prochazka, though, I think his youth, his unpredictability, his power, athleticism, explosiveness, and I think he will be able to stuff those takedowns enough to give him the win. And I think he's going to be able to just kind of put that relentless pressure, throw shots at weird angles, and get the victory. So going with the favorite here, Yuri Prochazka for the win. But this fight is much closer than what odd makers have it. Can go either way, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays. Next up, we have two ranked flyweights facing off when Rogerio Bontorin takes on Manel Kape. Manel Kape's on a 2-fight win streak, and it looks like he's finally living up to the hype that was surrounding this guy when he initially signed with the UFC. He's an exciting, aggressive, powerful striker. He's got 11 KOs or technical knockouts within his professional career, and he's taken on Rogerio Bontorin, who has gone 1-3 in his last 4 fights. Most recently, he lost by a split decision in January, and he's looking to get back in that win column. Although he's gone 1-3 in his last 4, this guy is legit, and he had his moments in those recent losses that he's taken. He's a phenomenal grappler and is a problem for any flyweight if he gets him to the ground. 11 out of his 17 wins are coming via submission, and if he can get Manel Kape to the ground, it's going to be a major problem for him. Manel Kape, on the other hand, needs to keep this fight on the feet. He needs to ensure he has a high output of strikes. He seems to do his best when he's throwing at a higher volume and kind of dictating the pace and is the aggressor in the bout. This is that classic grappler versus striker kind of matchup. And again, I think the odd makers have this one a little bit off. I mean, Manel Kape's coming in at like a -210, -230 favorite. I think it should be a lot closer. And I am going to go with Manel Kape. I am going with the favorite here. But I'm cautious with this pick. I would not be surprised if Rogerio Bontorin got the submission win here. But Manel Kape. Last fight we're going to review on today's show is a bout between Jack Della Maddalena and Ramazan Emeev. A lot of hype right now behind Jack Della Maddalena. If you remember, he fought on Dana White's Contender Series last year, got the win, earned his UFC contract, and made his UFC debut back in January. I gotta say, he's got some of the cleanest, tightest boxing that I've seen from a UFC prospect in a long time. And he looked sensational in his UFC debut back in January. That being said, though, his UFC debut was against a guy who had 4 pro MMA fights and took the fight on short notice. The reality is, if you belong in the UFC, you should look sensational against a guy who's had 4 MMA fights and is making a short notice UFC debut. So this is really going to be Jack Della Maddalena's chance to prove that he's worth the hype, and we're going to kind of see how good this guy really is. Ramazan Emeev is by far going to be his toughest fight to date. Emeev is a bit of a UFC veteran. He's fought in the UFC 7 times. Very well-rounded fighter. He's got good grappling, good striking. And, the path to victory for Jack Della Maddalena in this bout is definitely going to be to keep the fight on the feet. I think he's got the better striking, use his footwork, and avoid the takedowns. For Emeev, it's going to be threat with that takedown. And when you get the takedown, it's got to be positioned before submission. Something that I've noticed with Emeev, especially in his last fight, he seems to rush submissions. And what happens, or what that results in, is not only his opponent escaping the submission attempt, but often his opponent either getting a reversal or scrambling back up to the feet. If he wants to get a W in this bout, I feel like he's going to have to really take his time, be patient. When he gets a takedown, focus on position, control Jack Della Maddalena on the ground, and kind of chip away at him. Jack Della Maddalena, on the other hand, it's a tongue twister. He's got to use his footwork, as I mentioned. A key thing for him is going to be ensure that your back stays off the cage. Use your footwork to circle out and just rely on that crisp technical striking ability that you have. Close fight. I am going to go with Ramazan Emeev, though. He's a slight underdog, and I feel like with the right strategy, he's going to be able to secure enough takedowns, and as long as he focuses on position before submission and controls Jack on the ground, I see that being a way that will eventually lead him to victory. So Ramazan Emeev is the pick, and that concludes this episode. That's it for this episode of the Unofficial Pre Fight Show. Enjoy the fights this weekend. We'll see you next time.